Thank you very much. We are very honored to be here. And Karine and me, we are working in a program of the Universidad Nacional that's called Investigation, Art and Transmedia. We are connected to all the schools that are in this Faculty of Arts. So we sometimes have the opportunity to see things with a broader way. And we are going to talk about this project. This is still ongoing. We are on halfway. So we are going to talk more about how we are doing it and what is the outcome up to now. And we are on halfway. So it started 4 years ago with a contradiction. There was a lot of public discourse talking about the importance of culture, and the artist said there was less and less possibilities. And this was we were very worried about it, because in Costa Rica, like in many parts of Latin America, the public institutions are fundamental for artists as employment spaces, as venues, and for financing. So to us, it seemed this was very dangerous. Can you go to the next slide? So it was a kind of invisibility. We started to review, there's a national policy of cultural rights, and this is a tool that should guide public action in relationship to culture. And this national policy really addresses to two problems. One, there has to be a better connection between government entities who are related to culture, and the other problem was to give a better attention to regions that are not seen so much. Furthermore, this policy also talks about the connection between culture and economy. And this really was a key point for the Ministry of Culture, not of the actual government, but until 2 years ago. So there was nearly nothing about arts. And also the National Development and Public Investment Plan that ran until 22, now we have a new one, there was nothing about arts. And about culture, there was just, they talked about indigenous culture, very few, just they talked about invisibility in this context, especially about indigenous culture, and about, and as a part of the strategy to impact on conflictive districts. But there was nothing about art, nothing about artists. So it's very difficult to track the effects of this in Costa Rica, because there's very few data and there are no really good used indicators about culture and even less about art. But we have the claim of the artist that it's going to be, that it's always a little bit worse. This was a situation before pandemic. In pandemic, it really was nearly tragic, the situation. It was clear that something happened. So, as in Costa Rica and in a lot of parts of Latin America, it's part of the task of the public universities to look on public politics and look on the effect and of the what the public institutions are doing, and give ideas about what could be better. So we had to do something about this problem. And we identified, so we found out that there really is an invisibility of arts in national policy. And this means that there's a risk. And we find this opportunity that the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, I'm sorry, I'm not very used to speak in English, I understand, but I'm not used to speak in English. Costa Rica has a commitment to align its public policy with the SDG. And there are a lot of opportunities in the SDG. And with the process we made with the support of UNESCO office in San Jose, we made a process with artists in general, and we identified the SDG H as talking about decent work as opportunity. And so we started to make, taking work in the definition of the ILO that talks about everything that is socially necessary and not just paid work. This is very near to what is defined as artist. in the recommendation of the UNESCO of the state of artists. So this seemed to be a good opportunity, and the other opportunity is that the national policy of cultural rights is expired in 23, or it's expired this year, and so it's a good opportunity to make proposals. Could you take to the next? To make proposals for a better. For make a correction, for make some actualization of this policy that could help for the labor condition or the working condition of young artists. And could you make? We made a process. We really wanted to make it together, so we brought a video, a film where the people who were in this process are going to explain it.
Tengo 27 años, soy estudiante de la carrera de Educación Musical en la Universidad Nacional, estoy en mi primer año de licenciatura. Como artista joven, soy músico, baterista, participante de diferentes proyectos musicales en el área de metal extremo, del punk, del ska, y llevo aproximadamente 10 años tocando en diferentes agrupaciones y diferentes proyectos. Yo apoyo en el proyecto de condiciones de trabajo dignas para artistas jóvenes, ganador del fondo Ashford de la UNESCO, acá en el IAD, como estudiante asistente, apoyando en lo que es la gestión, la investigación, el montaje y el sondeo de todo lo que ha sido el proceso de estos últimos meses, ya próximamente un año. Y pues ha sido una experiencia sumamente enriquecedora por conocer tantas realidades diferentes y tantas perspectivas respecto a lo que es trabajo digno. anteriormente, en este momento ser artista joven en Costa Rica es algo un tanto surreal, ya que existimos, pero a la vez pareciera que somos simplemente un tipo de leyenda urbana. Estamos como por ahí en la periferia, en las voces de la gente, pero sin un reconocimiento real de nuestra labor. Por lo que podríamos decir que nuestro contexto en Costa Rica es de invisibilidad, de precariedad respecto a nuestras condiciones de trabajo y hasta cierto punto de desesperanza por lo difícil que se torna cada año el contexto artístico y cultural de nuestro país. Y para mostrar un botón, recientemente el gobierno de Costa Rica ha pronunciado un recorte de 4.000 millones a nuestro Ministerio de Cultura, lo cual deja en cierre técnico a diferentes entes de la institución del Ministerio de Cultura y Juventud, por lo que nuevamente quedamos en un estado de casi nada, con lo cual en pocos años, si esto continúa de esta manera, terminaremos siendo ya no solamente una leyenda urbana, sino un simple recuerdo. Por lo que sí, el contexto para artistas jóvenes en Costa Rica es sumamente difícil y pesado. Este proyecto, principalmente por su construcción de políticas públicas, puede traer en primer lugar, un pensamiento real de las condiciones que como artistas jóvenes buscamos para nuestro futuro, y que de una u otra manera, con la gestión, con la participación, se pueda llegar a implementar de una u otra manera en nuestro país, que sería el sueño como artistas que tendríamos para el futuro. Dejar este tipo de precariedad, de destrabajo, le llamaría yo, por el montón que sacrificamos y lo poco que recogemos. Por lo cual el proyecto es sumamente importante para primero dar a conocer que los artistas jóvenes existen, buscan un futuro y no es simplemente, como lo vengo repitiendo, una leyenda urbana, no es algo que se queda entre las voces de la gente, es algo que existe, es real y es necesario atender en este momento por la dignidad humana, por la dignidad de los artistas.
So what we did was the first step was young artists with tables of dialogue recorded all around the country. Well, we just reached 9 regions. That they told, we wanted them to talk to us what is for them work and what is dignified, what are acceptable working conditions. Second step was a kind of survey. The social scientists told us that it wasn't a survey, but something like this, to know what was the actual condition in comparison to what the young artists told us. Now, at this moment, we are starting to really write a political proposal, and then at the same time, there's artistic creation. The directors are students. And it's going to be a transmedial installation that is not only showing the results and what is our proposal, it's also an own way of reflecting about, and we are trying to work together the two equipments. The people who are writing a proposal and the people who are making the artistic work, so we have the two ways of reflection. This is what we are on now, and we don't have we have first because this governance and a lot of questions. There are most of all 5 issues. The first point is who we are talking about, because there's a difficulty because of the broad definition of artists and even broader definition of culture. So we see the invisibility of artists in Costa Rica is connected to this. Who is the artist and who defends the artist in a problematic situation? And so this is the reason why it's not a survey, because there's no reference number. How many artists there? A national census could give us this number, but it's likely impossible to see it. But it's also a problem if there are policies to whom they are addressed. So if you're thinking about what this event is on, the question should be a dialogue among education artists. Is a dialogue with who? This was like the first issue. We found like like a problematic issue. The second one is there are challenges, unfulfilled promises, or broken rights about the economic situation of the artists. In Costa Rica, they are earning the minimum wage or less. In pandemic, there was some kind of, it wasn't a survey, but there were a lot of artists, apparently, that are now in extreme poverty. They always was like the limit was like in poverty. Now the effect of the pandemic situation was worse for artists than for other employments. So there's a problem. This is really a legal problem because sometimes they aren't fulfilled their legal rights as workers. And also in Costa Rica, there still is a promise: if you have a higher degree, you have higher wages. There doesn't seem to be this connection in the case of artists. So in a dialogue among education artists, we have to think about that the artists, at least in Costa Rica, are in a difficult situation. And they're going to enter this dialogue from a situation that's not comfortable. So we have to think about this. And in the political proposal, we really have to talk about there are legal problems. The Ministry of Work has to do something. It's a question that we think is important. The third one, the formal education is a big job opportunity. There's a better labor, it seems to be a better labor situation for musicians, for example, because there are still music classes in school as one reason. So this is something important, and on the other hand, there are gaps in the formation of artists, because the artists told us, most of all the art students, that they never teach them how to be an independent worker. All the things you have to know, they never teach them. The people who weren't academic students knew better about this. So there is a problem in education, and definitely the formal education could be a very good place to dialogue between education and arts. Because it's opportunity, because it's a more or less well-being space for artists, and because there are needs in artistic formation. The next issue, this was very interesting to us. We weren't able to go all the regions, but the national policy about cultural rights is a lot about we don't have to stay just in the center of the country. That's not normal, what normally happens with policies in Costa Rica. We have to go everywhere, but this doesn't seem to happen. There are a lot of issues, but it doesn't seem to happen to the artists out of the center of the country. There are a lot of stuff about diversity, but not about the artists who are not in the center. So we have to measure, we have to find out about, and we have to start a dialogue, because one of the really interesting things we found out that the artists who are not in the center it's more easy for them to live being artists. And it's not only because of tourism. They have like more tools to be independent worker, but they have also specific problems. For example, the regions that are really considered to be culturally specific, and there are a lot of cultural action about this specificity, the artist said that's a problem for us, because we just can't do this. It's more difficult for us to be an artist, different from what is specifically in this region is promoted. So there's a problem which one of the key issues of the actual policy of cultural rights for the artists, not for culture, but for the artists. And I think there's another issue. Artist work is some kind of disturbing. It may feel things that perhaps they're not right. And on the other hand, there's a need of a market for the artists. So sometimes they tell, well, our arts, we want to stop, but we need someone to pay for us if you're working as independent artists. So there's a problem with there is no so much art anymore in the general education. In school, the art class are decreasing, the music and visual arts are decreasing. So the artists say it's a problem like with the general culture, with the reception of our art. There is, in the regions, they say it's more problems. Perhaps they have a narrow public. They are less diverse, the people who are seeing, who are watching the artists, who are in concerts, etc. might be. But it seems to be a problem with the general education and reception of arts. So it seems to be urgent to retake general artistic, like just music class and little bit of classes in school. This seems to be a key problem to the reception of artists from these regions. So this also is a gateway to dialogue based on the needs of artists. Talk about artistic education, but thinking about the needs of artists. These are, I think that's the last one. These are like the key issues we found out we should talk about in a national policy. So we would thank you if there's a little time, nearly nothing left, about how public policy advocacy can help for this situation, because in this moment we are trying to write it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vera, for the presentation.